Hey everybody, it's me, Steve SCHNEE, the CD Junkie. On this episode of CD Junkie, I'm going to be talking about quite possibly the most world famous new wave rock trio of the late 70s and early 80s. No, I'm not talking about the Jam. I'm talking about the Police. That's right, Sting, Andy Summers, and Stuart Copeland, one of the most popular groups out there during the late 70s and early 80s. Mind-blowing how many hits they had, but they only had just a handful of albums, and I'm going to go through them right now. I'm going to start this video off by telling you how I got into them, and that is exactly how everybody else did. You heard Roxanne on the radio. That was the first thing I ever heard. The minute I heard Roxanne, I thought, wow, okay, what is that I'm hearing? It sounded unlike anything else that was on the radio. You know, Sting's voice was very different than, you know, what you expected from these peroxide punks that were on the album cover. And of course, the album cover of the first album, Outlandos d'Amour, came out in 1978. That made you think that, well, maybe they might be kind of punk. But then, you know, I mean, if you see Sting's hair, you might think that they might be punk or new wave or something. But then Andy Summers and Stuart Copeland certainly didn't look punk, but this was a huge record. Of course, Roxanne was a big hit, but there are so many tracks that got played on the radio, like Next to You, Can't Stand Losing You, So Lonely, so many great songs on this album. And it's strange because looking back when they first came out, everyone talked about them being a reggae band, you know, because they had sort of, you know, reggae rhythms on a lot of the songs. But they weren't really trying to be a reggae band, but, you know, they were getting guff for that. You know, three British white guys playing reggae music, but it really wasn't reggae music. It was just influenced by reggae. A lot of the punk bands back then, The Clash and everybody, were influenced by reggae rhythms or reggae rhythms. But yeah, this was the first album, Outlandos d'Amour. It made them stars, came out in 1978. It was followed a year later by Regatta de Blanc, which is another great album. In fact, I think as a whole, you know, the first album may have had more instant type hits, but the second album was actually even better. This has Message in a Bottle, one of my favorite Police songs. It's All Right for You, Bring on the Night, Walking on the Moon, The Bed's Too Big Without You. Lots of great songs. And it sounded, you know, denser. It sounded not as edgy as the first album. It sounded like more thought went into arrangement and production. I believe these were produced by Nigel Gray. And this is a great album. In fact, when I first bought this, I bought it the week it came out. And I bought it, it was originally released as 2 10-inch records. And I was like super excited to get that. But I eventually went out and bought the LP as well. So the third album is actually my favorite Police album. It's called Zenyatta Mondatta, and that came out in 1980. More great hits on this album, including Don't Stand So Close to Me, Driven to Tears, When the World is Running Down, You Make the Best of What's Still Around, Canary in a Coal Mine, and my favorite, Do-Do-Do-Do-Da-Da-Da, which is really fun to say. I'm going to say it again, Do-Do-Do-Do-Da-Da-Da. Really, really wonderful album. This, I think, is much more sophisticated in songwriting and in playing. The interplay between the musicians, you know, obviously a couple years of touring, you know, they've become a really tight unit, and this was a great, great album. Now, even though these three albums were pretty different from each other, their fourth album was the one that they kind of broke away from that sound of the early years and became even more sophisticated, added keyboards, etc. And that's called Ghost in the Machine. And this was another hit album. You could just hear stuff all over the radio. Not just the hit singles, but they also had a lot of songs played on FM radio. I mean, by this time, they were being played on like the classic rock stations, not just the new wave stations. I mean, the Police were really becoming a big news. This has Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, Invisible Sun, Demolition Man, Spirits in the Material World. Lots of great songs on this. And this is Ghost in the Machine. It came out in 1981. I'm sorry for the stickers, but when you try to take them off, I don't want to tear the album covers. So I just leave them on. You know, it's the music really that matters to me. And then finally, their last studio album came out in 1983, and it is called Synchronicity. And it's really, really strange because like the first half of the album, there's like no hits. You know, no, I don't even remember the radio station playing most of side one. I think the only thing they actually played was Synchronicity 2, which even if that title doesn't strike you, if you go Synchronicity too, which song is that? The minute you hear it, you go, oh yeah, they used to play that on the radio all the time. But this album, Side 2, features all the hits, including Every Breath You Take, King of Pain, Wrapped Around Your Finger, which is one of my all-time favorite Police songs, Murder by Numbers. Great album, but this was it. That was all she wrote. The Police broke up. Sting went off to a successful solo career. Andy Summers had his solo career, and Stuart Copeland followed his muse and went off and did a bunch of groovy things. Now, this isn't the only way to get these on CD. There's actually a box set called Every Move You Make, the Studio Recordings. Now, this box set contains all the same CDs that I showed you, except they're not in digipacks like those are. These are actually in mini LP sleeves. So they open up like that. And this really looks cool. I love the colors of this particular version. They're the same exact albums, the remastered versions, but alongside those albums, you get a 6th CD, which is called Flexible Strategies. And what this is rarities, B-sides, and stuff that didn't obviously make the albums. Now, the albums had song written by Andy Summers and Stuart Copeland, but this actually has, more of it, because they were relegated to the B-side. But that's a nice box set. It has their 5 studio albums plus that Flexible Strategies compilation. So you can get it either way. You can get it this. You can't get Flexible Strategies anywhere but the box set. Or you can just get the digipacks like I have as well. Anyway, that's it. I appreciate you giving me the time to talk about the Police. Let me know what you think of the Police in the comments below. And remember to like, comment, share, subscribe to ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me, I'm Steve SCHNEE, the CD Junkie.